Good morning, everyone. It's a great pleasure for me to be here. I am Frances Pardo. I am a professor at the Engineering and Construction Department at UPC, and I am going to talk you about how can cities design their strategies to become smart. UN told us, as many other institutions do, that the cities are part of the problem, and we are talking about climate change, but it's true that they are also part of the solution. And aware of that, the European Commission developed this Smart Cities and Communities program, where it invested more than 400 million euros in order to deploy in different cities smart solutions. The idea is that these cities should be lighthouse cities, offering the possibility to other follower cities to learn about that solutions and helping them on deploying in the future these solutions. We had the opportunity, as in close collaboration with the SADE, where I were teaching before arriving at the UPC, to be involved in a couple of these projects, Replicate and My Smart Life. The idea of these lighthouse projects is quite similar. The cities want to implement solutions in terms of energy efficiency when we talk about buildings, and they want to deploy real solutions for electric vehicles, and they are trying to implement also ICT solutions for becoming, in general terms, energy efficient. For doing that, our recommendation is to develop a long-term strategy. Why? Because this is the only way how cities can organize its resources, its activities in a long-term approach for deploying public value for its citizens. Public value that should be, in a long term, sustainable in terms of social means, environmentally talking, and also in terms of economy. Because this is the only way that we have in order to develop viable, equitable, and habitable cities. So the question here is, how can we help cities on doing that long-term approach? We develop a couple of very simple tools for helping them on that process. The first one is the City Model Canvas, which is based on the Business Model Canvas developed by Stowalder. We modify a bit this framework. We introduce here the mission statement in order to have a clear idea about what is the real goal and the final goal of the cities. We are not talking about customers, we are talking about beneficiaries. And another important thing is here. We want to understand what kind of support we need as a municipality for developing those solutions, and also who could be a blocker of that solution. And the second idea of deployment is how cities can implement the first type of solutions, because the first moving is always quite complicated. Finally, we also add the triple bottom layer in order to assess conceptually the sustainability of each one of the solutions. And the second tool is the value creation ecosystem. This is a graphical tool for understanding what companies or what organizations we need to involve in our smart city strategy. Here, beyond having a clear idea about these companies, we also know, thanks to this tool, very simple, but we also know what are the value that each organization is creating downstream, and what kind of value they are getting as a payback as a result of the work that they are developing. This is very useful because if the companies are not getting enough value from their work, they won't be involved in this kind of project. And at the end of this ecosystem, we have the final user, which is usually the citizen. Going back to our projects, I want to present you the strategy that San Sebastian follow through this couple of tools for deploying with Legoland the smart public lighting in one of its districts. So the first question is, why public lighting? Public lighting is key in many issues related to well-being, from crime prevention to safety in terms of mobility. If we talk about cyclists or drivers. Public lighting represents around 40% of the energy consumption in European cities. Why? Because most of the infrastructure that we have in our cities are quite obsolete, and this is the reason why 75% of the 60 million lampposts that we have in Europe should be replaced in upcoming years. So here we have a window of opportunity, and it's important to work on how to take advantage of that. Here you have the city model canvas we developed with Fomento San Sebastian and San Sebastian in order to understand what are the main points of the solution. The main idea is that the city wants to reduce the greenhouse gas emissions, and changing the lampposts of the city could be a good strategy for reducing those CO2 emissions and for reducing the the energy consumption, so to reducing the cost of the energy, and also with a new kind of lamppost will be easy to also to reduce the cost in maintenance, and also will be easy to ensure the safety of the drivers, cyclists, and any kind of pedestrian, which will be the beneficiaries of the solution. The idea here is how can the city pay for that intervention, just taking into account the savings that they will generate, and also at the very beginning with the grants that they will get from any other institutions like the European Commission. Another important thing is how they plan to develop the first implementation through research projects in close collaboration with local partners, and through the pilot intervention, just for testing the solution that they want to implement. Here you have the value creation ecosystem. The idea that we have here is that the municipality is the main actor, the owner of the whole intervention. They have, and this is a very important actor, a municipal tech agency that is the promoter and who is taking care that the public value of the intervention is real. And then we have the smart lighting company who will install and manage all the public lighting installation in San Sebastian. The intervention that they developed in San Sebastian was in the Euromea Riverside district. The pilot tried to understand if the solution was sustainable with a long-term strategy in order to scale that solution in other parts of the city. And the first pilot consists on replacing just 90 old lampposts by two different very related technologies, one from Philips and the second one from Legoland. As you can see here, and this is important, this is zone and this is zone B. Here, the old lampposts were newer, so they consume less energy than the ones that were in zone A. Here you have a scheme of the intervention. The white area is the A with 52 lampposts, and here you have the zone B just with 38 lampposts. Here you have the new lamppost, and this is how the interventions looks like during the night. Here you have the energy performance of the zone A. This was a 5 years project and we use 1 year and 4 months just for monitoring as the baseline, just for understanding what was the consume of the all lampposts. And here we have the intervention. As you can see, the consumes are reduced dramatically. In Zone B, as I told you, the lampposts, the all lampposts were newer, so the reduction is not as important as in Zone A, but it's also possible to see how the energy consumption has decreased during from the date in they installed those the smart lampposts. For me, this is a much better picture, because here you have the consumption of year 2016, sorry, and here you have the accumulated consumption at the end of the year, and here you have the year 2017, and in this point we have the intervention. So the slope of the curve is changing quite dramatically, could we say, when you install these new lampposts. And here we have the consumes during the year 18, 19, and 20. So it's important, if you can afford these kind of projects, to implement them. Here we have an economic study. We compare the previous solution with a couple of solutions, just installing LED lamps and installing a smart lamppost. As you can see, the investment is quite higher in the terms of lampposts, but the savings are in terms of energy consumption are quite higher. So finally, at the end of the lifetime of the project, we can get a band a big higher in term when we install a smart lamppost. And if we want to know how many years do we need in order to get our investment back, the payback is just 3 years and 0.7, so almost 4 years, which is not an incredible period for getting back our investment. So as a conclusion, just a few ideas. Cities needs a holistic strategy for developing smart city solutions. City model canvas and value creation ecosystem could help them on understanding how they can approach these kind of projects. Smart lighting technologies are ready for being implemented in our cities. Its upfront cost could be a first barrier for deploying this kind of interventions, but the savings that these interventions are generating allows us to have a very short-term paybacks. So I would recommend to do that if you have the initial investment possibility. And just for finishing my presentation, I would show you. I will show you a video of how the intervention is working in the streets of San Sebastian. Thank you very much. Here you have the car moving. The lights are increasing the intensity when they can appreciate that the car is arriving. Here you can see the decrease of energy of the intensity. And the top part of the slide, you can see how the intensity is increasing when the car approaches that area. Different technologies that we have. I think that it is enough. So again, thank you very much for your attention.